And girls, thank you for joining me here on the Reading Angels channel. I'm Kim, and this week we are continuing on with our series, our Moses series. This week we're on part 3, and it's called Out of Egypt. Our story is called Out of Egypt. The Israelites walked day and night to get away from Egypt. But when they had gone, the Egyptians were furious. Now they had no one to work for them. So Pharaoh's army chased the Israelites. The Israelites reached the shores of the Red Sea. But how were they to get across? The Egyptians were close behind. "Don't be afraid," said Moses. "God will help us." He stretched out his hand and the waters divided. The Israelites walked safely across on dry land. Then Moses lowered his hand. The water flowed back, and Pharaoh and his soldiers were drowned. At last the Israelites were safe from Pharaoh and the Egyptians. So here is a picture of the water in the Red Sea rolling back for the Israelites, God's children, to walk through on dry land. But before long, the Israelites ran out of food. They came angrily to Moses. "Why did you lead us into the desert?" they shouted. "We'll starve to death here. We should have stayed in Egypt." "God will take care of you," said Moses. "Wait until morning, then you'll see something wonderful." When they woke, the Israelites saw white powder covering the ground. It tasted good. They called it manna and found it every morning. So here's that kind of like white powder called manna. And that was food for the Israelites. The Israelites trudged for weeks through the desert. Tired and hot, they came to Mount Sinai, where they set up camp. Moses climbed the mountain to meet with God. "I will be your God, and you will be my people," he promised. "I will give you rules for living. Write them down." So Moses wrote down God's rules on flat stones. We call them the 10 Commandments. And here is Moses on the mount, and God is giving him the rules for living called the 10 Commandments. Moses was away on the mountain so long that the Israelites thought he wasn't coming back. They told Aaron, "Make us a golden calf to worship." So Aaron asked them to bring him their gold rings and bracelets, and from these he made a golden calf. He set it up in the camp, and people started to pray to it. They forgot that God had brought them out of Egypt. So here is the golden calf that Aaron made at the people's request. As Moses was coming down the mountain, he heard singing. He couldn't understand what the noise was about until he saw the calf of gold. Moses was so angry that he smashed the stones with God's rules on them. He had to climb Mount Sinai all over again to get a new set. The Israelites told God they were sorry for making the golden calf. So here's Moses back, and he's very angry that Aaron and the children of Israel set up this golden calf to worship. God said the Israelites were to build a special tent called the tabernacle where they could worship. It was easy to take it apart and carry it with them on their travels. They also made a golden box called the Ark of the Covenant for storing the 10 Commandments. It was kept inside the tent. Now continue your journey to the country I promise you. God told the Israelites, I will be with you. So there's a picture of the tent called the tabernacle that the children of Israel, the children of God, could worship God. So the Israelites packed their tents, left Mount Sinai, and moved on. They wandered through the desert for 40 years. Sometimes they grumbled and complained, but God never gave up on them. So here's a picture of God's children wandering through the wilderness for those 40 years, and there they are with sad faces, grumbling and complaining. After long years of wandering, Moses finally brought the Israelites to a mountain called Nebo. From the top they could see the land God had promised them, but Moses died before he could enter the promised land. So there is a picture of, here's Moses on the mountain, and he's looking over at the promised land over here. He gets to get a glimpse of the promised land. And this is from the Candle Bible for Kids, and taken from Exodus chapter 13 through 16, 19 through 20, and Deuteronomy chapter 34. So that is going to take us into our next week, which is going to be called Joshua Destroys Jericho. So that's what we're going to be reading for next week. Okay, everyone, so thank you so much for joining me today, boys and girls, and I look forward to reading to you next week. So have a blessed day in Jesus' name.